Hello and welcome to Debunk Dilettante, where I give you my inexpert opinion on the unexplained. We have some really interesting clips sure to make your brains twitch and spleens explode, so let's check it out.
Screams.
3:12
If there's
a.m.
anything that scares me the most, it has to be unexplainable sounds, since most of those tend to be really eerie. And the following sound has to be the epitome of what I mean by eerie. YouTuber Don Garvey gives some background information on the following audio. Garvey had placed a digital recorder inside a basement after a homeowner complained of hearing noises coming from there late at night. After having left the recorder there for 3 days, nothing was captured. However, the following night, they captured something beyond terrifying.
Ooh,
At first, they couldn't hear a thing,
this.
but after having amplified the sound 20 times, they heard this.
20 times? Must have been faint. Holy smokes. That's a heck of a headache.
Ever since listening to this, I've been trying to figure out what those noises were. It's really spooky,
Someone
and I
giving
can't help but
birth,
think that the
obviously.
homeowner didn't move after hearing this, as most people tend to come up with some explanation. Perhaps this might be genuine evidence of something paranormal. Had I heard this in my own home, I would have packed my things and left in a heartbeat.
Well, those were certainly some scary sounds, but they recorded it and had to amplify it 20 times in order to hear it, which made me think it was probably decently far away or outside the house. So my guess is either somebody was in labor, or the more likely explanation, there was a fox outside. I don't know if any of you have actually heard what the fox says. I have. I used to live right next to woods, and we had juvenile foxes hanging out one night, screaming their heads off. Apparently, when they're marking their territory to another, they let out this earth-shattering scream. It sounds like somebody being murdered. So I think that these were probably foxes or some animal giving birth. I'm not really sure, but I just don't think it was paranormal, especially, like I said, if they had to amplify it 20 times in order to even hear it when it was being recorded down in their own basement. So yeah, I think it's foxes. So what does the fox say? Oh, apparently.
In the early 20th century, Alfred Watkins came up with a theory that the world was comprised of invisible lines that connected most of the ancient structures and landmarks built on planet Earth. These lines are known as the Ley Lines, and believers argue that
Ley
these
lines.
alignments were recognized by ancient societies that deliberately erected structures along them. Since the 1960s, members of the Earth Mysteries movement and other esoteric traditions have commonly believed that such ley lines form some sort of energy grid and serve as a guide for alien spacecraft.
Oh my God, what is going on?
That one looks like space trash or something. I don't know.
It's coming apart.
Now, one of these
Or
supposed energetic
Chinese lantern.
lines runs straight through southern Brazil, cutting across the misty mountainous region of Serra do Rio do Rastro. Known for its breathtaking beauty and impossible roads carved into the cliffs, the area has also been a hotspot for inexplicable phenomena.
Olha isso aqui. Olha isso aqui é bronze. Olha isso aqui.
Oh,
And it was about 2 weeks ago that a YouTuber known as Wandam Hobby Drone captured something completely unexplained on camera while recording the beautiful scenery with his drone.
Incrível que pareça, eu filmei tudo isso aqui, não vi, na hora não
Uau.
vi nada disso daí. Mas depois as pessoas assistindo me apontaram que apareceu 3 objetos. E agora nós vamos trabalhar, vamos dar um zoom, criar um contraste para ver se a gente identifica os objetos. O primeiro passou muito rápido, ele mergulhou, tá vendo? Depois subiu lá. Ó.
That's it?
Você deve falar, nossa, mas não dá para ver nada, né? Só que essas imagens eu fiz em 4K em 60 frames, tá vendo ali? Tá subindo,
like a
agora tá
fly.
subindo, é um negócio
Or a
subindo ali.
bird close
Aí
to
tem muita
the
gente que já logo vai
camera.
falar, não, é pássaro, cara, não é pássaro. Olha, dá uma olhada nos pássaros lá embaixo, que ele passou por cima dos
Not a
pássaros
bird,
e
okay.
assustou os
Then it's
pássaros,
a
entendeu?
fly.
Vou mostrar aqui em câmera lenta, tá lá. O objeto passando e os pássaros assustados. Agora olha
Okay, so it's
esse
closer to the
formato
camera?
desse objeto. Vê se esse objeto parece com um pássaro.
At the time of recording this beautiful place, Wandam did not realize it. But he actually captured not one, but several unidentified objects moving inland pretty quick.
Baixa lá, lá embaixo passa outro, ó.
Another one. Now I really think it's like flies or something.
Subi lá, ó. Ele é muito nítido, olha só.
Yeah,
Aí você
very
deve falar,
clear.
nossa, o que é isso aí? Isso aí? Agora vai dar pra ver que não é pássaro.
The first one could be confused by a drone or maybe a bird. But it's
Or
when
it
he
could be a lens
captured the
flare.
second and third object that it becomes quite clear that whatever it is that we're looking at, these are not drones nor birds. Take a
Okay.
look.
Okay. Orbs are always questionable to me.
Agora, o mais intrigante é esse, cara. Esse que passa aqui, olha lá, a velocidade desse trem que passa. É muito,
That's very fast.
mas muito mais rápido que os outros. E o formato desse aí é uma coisa que eu vou te falar uma coisa, eu nunca vi na minha vida.
The third object swooshes by pretty quick, much
It does.
quicker than any drone or bird could fly. If we zoom in slow-mo, we can
Okay.
compare this object's speed with the cars.
Yeah, well, the car's probably going like, I don't know, 25, 30 miles an hour is my guess.
It also looks like this thing could be a
And they're on the
cylindrical
ground.
type UFO. Now here's the
Oh,
thing,
that's
Lanzam didn't just capture 3 objects. After posting the video to YouTube, most of his subscribers noticed that he actually captured a swarm of UFOs. Check this out.
A swarm of UFOs? Below his
Did you
drone.
see that? Moments before lowering
Why
his
would they
drone
be
into
below
the
his
valley,
drone?
he captures 3 of these objects swooshing by pretty quick, so quick that no one saw it.
Yeah, I didn't. Why would they be below the
Whatever
drone
these
way
things
down
are,
in
it
the
seems like
valley?
they don't have any known propulsion system, making me think that this is either classified technology or alien technology.
Okay, so I get what the narrator is getting at with the ley lines. Ley, not Lee. I've heard of these as well, and he's trying to, say that these are UFOs. But I don't know what I was expecting. First of all, his drone can only fly so high. Why would these objects be so much lower than the drone? Like, can you imagine alien spacecraft or some sort of classified craft by the government flying down in the valley below where this drone can fly? I don't know. That's sketch to me. Anyway, I really feel like these are just flies or possibly birds, and they're a lot closer to the camera lens on the drone than the actual birds that he saw in the video. And that's why they look so much different and why they're so fast, because they're closer to the screen. I really don't think these are UFOs, guys. Tell me what you think down in the comments. Maybe you know what these are. Let me know. But I really just think that these, once maybe would be a lens flare, but the multiple make me think it's flies that are just closer and to the camera of the drone and higher up. But why would a UFO fly below a drone? I don't know. Anyway, that's just my take.
A senior FEMA official has gone on the record to say that God teleported him 50 miles through the air and deposited him
What?
inside a Waffle House in Rome, Georgia.
What?
That isn't a joke, and it isn't a headline from a satirical website. It's a claim made on a
Gotta hear
public
this.
podcast by Greg Phillips, the Associate Administrator for the Office of Response and Recovery at FEMA, the agency responsible for managing billions of dollars in American disaster relief.
It was scary in a way. You don't really know, okay, is this evil? Is this good? What is this? What do I do with this? How do I deal with it?
In a January 2025 episode of the podcast Onward, Phillips told listeners he'd mentioned to his sons that he was heading out for food. And then, according to him, something extraordinary happened.
I was on the phone, oh my God, what's happening? And I was landed.
He instantaneously ended up inside a Waffle House 50 miles away.
I was with my boys one time and I was telling I was going to go to Waffle House and get Waffle House.
That's what you do
And
at Waffle House.
And I ended up at a Waffle House. This is in Georgia. And I ended up at a Waffle House like 50 miles away from where I was.
When his son
Interesting.
rang to ask where he'd gone, he told them he was in Rome, Georgia.
They said, where are you? I said, a Waffle House. They said, Waffle House where? And I said, Waffle
They knew
House
he
in
was
Rome,
going
Georgia.
Their response was that it wasn't possible, because he'd only just left the room a moment earlier.
I said, that's not possible. You just left here like
Then
a
why are
moment
they
ago.
calling him if he just left.
But it was possible. It was real.
On the podcast, he described the sensation of involuntary teleportation as genuinely unpleasant. He said it's no fun because you don't really understand what's happening and it's scary. Since it happens involuntarily, there's nothing you can do about it. You just go along for the ride.
Teleporting is no fun. It's no fun because you don't really know what you're doing. You don't really understand it.
And in case anyone was wondering whether this was a one-off, it wasn't.
It wasn't.
Phillips has also claimed that on a separate occasion, he was driving his car when the entire vehicle was suddenly lifted into the air. He described himself and his car flying through the sky before being dropped roughly 40 miles away, landing in a ditch outside a church near Albany, Georgia.
In a ditch.
2 supernatural teleportation events, 1 senior federal disaster management official, not a single independent witness to either of them.
I was on the phone. Oh my God, what's happening? And I was landed.
Twice.
And landed about 40 miles away in a ditch outside of a Baptist church in a little tiny town just where you cross over the border.
A car accident.
It was an incredibly frightening moment.
All right, well, there's a lot to unpack there. I'm going to keep all politics aside on this. It doesn't matter, how you feel about this guy or about FEMA in general. Just based on these 2 events of teleportation, supposed teleportation, I'm going to say that's wild. He did sound earnest about it, like he genuinely felt that this happened. So I believe that he felt like these happened. But there's some things that don't really track. First of all, he told his boys he was going to Waffle House, as one does, it's the cornerstone to every household. The sons then called him and said, "Where are you?" And he said, "Well, I'm in Waffle House." And they said, "Where?" He said, "In Rome, Georgia." And they said, "That's impossible. You just left the room like a couple of minutes ago." First of all, I don't know if anybody corroborated the story that the sons actually did talk to him on the phone. Second of all, why are they calling him to ask him where he is if he just left? You don't tell your family, "Hey, I'm going out. I'll be right back. I'm going to the local diner to pick up some food." And then they call you a couple of minutes later, "Hey, where are you?" So that, for me, doesn't check out. And so I'm questioning that. I do feel like he really felt like this. In fact, he may have even ended up in Rome, Georgia, even if they could prove that. Which I don't think anybody was able to successfully prove that. I do remember hearing this story vaguely early last year. But if that did happen, maybe he blacked out or something. I believe he was sick or something. He had cancer or something. I'm sure he was on chemo, and I've had a close family member on chemo before, and I know that it makes you just not all there. It's possible he drove there and didn't remember doing it, and then just kind of came to out of his funk and said, "Wow, I'm in Waffle House in Rome, Georgia?" Or he must have asked somebody, "Where am I?" And they had to say Rome, Georgia, and how did I get 50 miles away from my house? And lost track of time. That's one possibility. The other possibility is that he did go to Waffle House, but it was only a few minutes away from his house, and he thinks that he was in Rome, Georgia, another like blackout situation or something like that. It is possible that he had some sort of, brainwave of sorts and didn't realize where he was. I'm not denying that he thinks that it happened, but I'm denying that it did happen. The second one, he ended up in a ditch, which really makes me think that he blacked out and just maybe he was unconscious and he came to. He didn't realize how he got there. I just don't think that these were teleportation situations. I think he was having some sort of medical, situation where he blanked out and didn't realize what was going on. He was not conscious of it, either driving without realizing it or just completely blacked out. Again, no politics on my side. I don't know how trustworthy this man is or is not. I just know that the sources have not been corroborated. I do remember that much. So I really think this was a situation of a mental blackout. I'm sorry, Guy, that it happened to you. I'd be scared too, and I don't doubt that you were scared. I just doubt that you teleported because it's never happened to anybody with scientific proof. So anyway, I don't know. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments. Hey guys, thank you so much for stopping by and checking out my video today. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Let me know what you'd like me to debunk next down in the comments. Thanks, and I'll see you next time. So what does the fox say? Oh!